Now, Newsroom 7, the 11 o'clock update with John Henning and Jan Harrison, meteorologist Harvey Leonard, and sports with Bill O'Connell. Direct from our Newsroom 7 studios in Government Center in Boston, here is John Henning.
Good evening. Our top story tonight, the top brass of the Boston Police Department. All of them are on the streets tonight, cracking down on police response time. Heading the troops is the new #2 man of the department, Superintendent William Bratton. Tonight's effort follows a major shakeup in the top command of the police force, and this is thought to be an important phase of the transitional plan, which is supposed to lead to a more active top command and closer supervision of the troops. We see Superintendent Bratton in action tonight in Shirley McNerney's exclusive report on her ride with the police.
All we have right now is a white male, and he's got a gun.
We were riding with Superintendent William Bratton when we found ourselves in the middle of a chase. We were only minutes behind the first car responding.
Is that the victim on board, Daddy?
Cars on board. Right now they're looking for 2 white males. One is 5'10", slim built, has a mustache. He's wearing dark clothing. Did they have a ski mask? Negative on a ski mask.
Negative.
Affirmative, one did have a ski mask.
All right, look, they're probably headed over toward Boylston Street. I've got the blue ski mask.
This was a robbery. Bratton said the response time here was good. He would be the first to admit, though, that it is not always so, hence tonight's crackdown. 9 superintendents and 16 deputies were on the street, prompting one to joke that they were the highest paid patrol supervisors in police history. Following orders of Police Commissioner Joseph Jordan, Bratton is working on a new patrol plan to be announced October 15th. That plan is to facilitate response time, but Jordan is also requiring a more active role from headquarters.
What about the men in the district? Don't you think they resent the brass coming in, looking over their shoulders?
If anything, I think there's a need for more supervision in this department. I think we recognize that one of the problems we've had over the past year is the lack of supervisors in the field.
As for the brass themselves, some reportedly are not happy about the new drill, but others, like Bratton, are putting in long hours. He says he'll be on the streets until 5 o'clock this morning. I'm Shirley McNerney, Newsroom 7, downtown Boston.
Of course, the police department is also aware that several news organizations are preparing long reports on police effectiveness. Boston neighborhood residents can rest a little easier tonight. Mayor Kevin White says there will be no police station closings in the city and no cuts in the city's complement of police officers. In fact, the mayor is guaranteeing more police on the streets of Boston's neighborhoods than ever before.
I'm going to guarantee you that there are going to be more police on the streets in the neighborhoods of the city than we've ever had before.
The mayor's statement comes after long weeks of controversy over a police reorganization plan. Residents in the city feared the plan would close neighborhood stations and cut back police protection.
An attempt tonight to get 850 striking city workers in Cambridge back on the job, while the trucks holding key elements for tomorrow's 350th anniversary celebration sat idle tonight. The State Labor Relations Commission ordered the workers back to their jobs. The walkout is not only threatening tomorrow's festivities, officials say it's causing problems at Cambridge City Hospital and Neville Manor Rest Home. But no matter what, it appears the celebration is on.
We have approximately 35 non-union management people here, and they're working on shifts right now. They're 12 on and 12 off. They will be working the entire weekend, and we'll be handling it tomorrow. It will be disruptive, but we figure we'll survive.
The bottom line tonight, city officials are unable to find union officials to serve the back-to-work papers, and until that happens, the strikers will probably remain off the job. 2 men are in custody, and the search is on for a third tonight as a car heist leads to gunfire in Roxbury. It all began when an off-duty officer spotted 3 men stealing a car near Upham's Corner earlier today. When the police car stopped, the 3 men started running, and 1 man was arrested almost immediately. A second made his way into the woods, turned and fired a shot. One officer says he saw the flash from the muzzle. Now, that suspect is still at large, but authorities did flush a 3rd man out of a nearby house. Anthony Thomas and Ricardo Small tonight are jailed on a variety of charges. John?
The FBI tonight, Jan, believes it has a break in the shooting of National Urban League President Vernon Jordan. The prime suspect tonight, 30-year-old Joseph Franklin, a drifter from Mobile, Alabama. It's a classified ad for a high-powered rifle that first pointed the finger at Franklin as the suspect in the Vernon shooting. Apparently just one shooting in a 9-month, 5-state shooting spree that left a half-dozen people dead, most of the victims black males. Police believe Franklin was avenging the January 1st death of a cousin at the hands of 4 black men. The man accused of being responsible for the deaths of 250,000 Jews and Poles at the Sobibor Nazi extermination camp committed suicide at his farm in St. Paulo, Brazil today. Gustav Franz Wagner was an SS officer at the death camp in Poland between 1941 and 1943. After the war, he lived quietly in Brazil until famed Nazi hunter Simon Wiesenthal identified him from a photograph taken at a Hitler anniversary birthday party in 1978. Wagner tried suicide several times before while fighting extradition to West Germany. He repeatedly told Brazilian officials he never went to see what happened at the death camp. He only obeyed orders. A tense situation in Paris tonight, the result of the 6th anti-Jewish attack to hit this week. It's the worst one yet. It could have been more tragic. A bomb went off in front of a synagogue just minutes before hundreds of people emptied out of a Sabbath service. At least 4 people died in the blast. 15 others were injured, some of them children. The explosion overturned cars, damaged nearby buildings, and shattered windows for blocks. A woman charged with scalding her 20-month-old baby and shoving him into an oven during a bizarre exorcism ritual may not be going to trial. 25-year-old Patricia Abraham will undergo psychiatric tests in New York to determine why she thought she had to exorcise the devil from her son earlier this year. Under a new law in New York, the woman could plead mental incapacity and possibly go free after an observation period. Jan?
The fierce fight continues between Iraq and Iran tonight. Iranian military troops and civilians are now reported to be combining forces in a strong effort to boot invading Iraqi troops out of their country. Iran, in fact, claims to have taken the upper hand in the ground fighting. It says it is victorious in the battles for 4 besieged Iranian cities on the southern front. Reporters are verifying Iran's claim. But Iraq, meanwhile, insists its forces have a firm hold on territory now under its control. And the United States is keeping an eye on the fighting with the help of a sophisticated satellite known as the Spy in the Sky. But defense officials tonight report that the Spy in the Sky needs a repair job. It has been malfunctioning for the past several days, apparently sending back photos too indistinguishable to be of value. Defense sources insist the problem is not putting a serious dent on our surveillance. They say backup satellites are taking up the slack there.
Well, we have a story about a toy recall so parents of young children better get a pencil and paper when we come back.
Also, when we come back, Rose Kennedy is coming back strong. And Harvey, what's the weekend going to be like?
Well, I'll tell you whether the much-needed rain we're getting now will cut into the weekend. We'll look back at a New England weather disaster that occurred a year ago today.
Ex-hostage Richard Queen recently discovered that he has multiple sclerosis. MS attacks the central nervous system, causing disability and often paralysis. Recently, exciting research at 3 Boston hospitals suggests MS is caused by a defect in the immune system. Please support the Multiple Sclerosis Society. This is John Henning at Mass General looking at the problem of MS.
Is gambling just a game for you, or is it an addiction? Is gambling making your home life unhappy, or affecting your job, or keeping you awake nights? If you want to stop gambling, call Gamblers Anonymous. GA is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other to arrest their gambling. Weekly meetings, a recovery program, and a road to a better way of life. That's Gamblers Anonymous. Call 482-2929. They can help, and that's no gamble.
Officials at South Boston High School tonight must decide which students are providing the spark plug for the violence at that school. 5 students were treated at hospitals yesterday after fights broke out at their high school. At a meeting between faculty and administrators today, it was decided to transfer known troublemakers out of the school. Now, other students are being told to shape up or they will be assigned to after-school disciplinary programs.
Different kind of school story here, Jan. 2 schools that have been closed for the past 2 days because of an outbreak of scabies will reopen on Monday. The children at Christopher Columbus Catholic High and the Julie Billiard High School were hit by mites that burrow under the skin and lay eggs. The first sign of trouble is a red, itchy rash. If treated properly, the condition can be cleared up within 24 hours. Many communities in the state have been hit with scabies recently. Rose Kennedy is home with her family tonight in the familiar surroundings of Hyannisport as she continues to recover from surgery. This morning, Senator Edward Kennedy escorted his mother from the New England Baptist Hospital in Boston. The 90-year-old Mrs. Kennedy had been operated on for an intestinal blockage, and doctors agree with her assessment that she's just fine. Jan?
Well, Harvey said wet, we got wet, and as long as I don't want to talk about wet right now. Tell me about history.
Okay, it was only short history. A year ago today that quite a devastating situation occurred in Windsor Locks, Connecticut. One of the worst tornadoes ever to hit New England passed through that area. Actually, we're not even sure if it was really one or more tornadoes that did the damage, but as you look at these scenes from a year ago, I can tell you that 65 homes were destroyed, an additional 100 homes and businesses were damaged, total property damage in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Here at Bradley Airport alone, damage was $50 million. More than 400 people were injured, and 3 people lost their lives. All of this occurred exactly 1 year ago on this date. Quite a scene indeed. Now we're a year later, and everything is all repaired, and you'd never know anything happened. Of course, the people down there will never forget it, but the rest of us see that everything has been put back together once again. Well, so much for New England weather history. Let's talk about present New England weather, namely here in Boston. We are getting some much-needed rains, and I think we're going to get a good deal more before this night is over. Temperature and dew point, both the same. That means the air is completely saturated. One of the reasons we're getting good rains in most areas now. The wind is out of the northeast, very popular direction for storms here, and the barometer is falling off pretty quickly. We show a line right now, all below this, which covers central and southern New England. It's raining. In some places, it's raining hard. We've already had almost 3/4 of an inch at Logan Airport, and we'll probably go over the inch mark on average. Of course, some areas will have more, some less. But this is a pretty good rain. It won't do all the job, but it certainly is going to be a big help for our drought-stricken area. Now, as far as the weekend goes, after mid-morning tomorrow, the storm will quickly pass through, and here in southern New England, the rest of the weekend, it'll be fairly decent, cool and dry. But if you're headed for the mountains of northern and western New England, there mountain clouds will hang on with a few sprinkles the rest of the weekend, and it'll actually be downright cold in those areas. 4-dot symbol means heavy rain. That's happening in Providence in New York City. 3 dots means moderate rain. That's happening in Worcester, up in Portland, and many other locations as well. And we can see much of the rain that's falling. Radar is loaded tonight. Several bands of rain show up here. You can see it all across eastern New England. We can take a closer look at that right now, and you'll be able to see even better up from southern New Hampshire on down through Worcester County, and actually most areas right now are getting rain. We can also discriminate and show you the heaviest rain that's falling. That'll show in yellow if you have color sets. And again, there are little splotches of moderate to heavy rain still to come up from the south, so that's why I say we're not through. We're going to get some more good rains before this night is over. Now, our satellite shot taken from tonight as well will show the moisture all up and down the northeast. The storm is in this position. It's organizing, moving quickly up, and all the moisture will be passing through during the next 6 to 9 hours. Now we go to the national weather map. We'll find the storm itself. It's very close to Atlantic City. It's slowly intensifying, but it is moving quickly. So by daybreak to mid-morning, the rain will end here in Boston, a little bit longer in areas well north, and a little dry slot is beginning to push up the coast. I expect breaks of sunshine in southern New England tomorrow. Mountain clouds back here will be in the mountains of northern New England, but for us, fairly decent, as I said, after early tomorrow morning. So the forecast, to wrap it up, goes like this. Tonight, what we have is what we get. Rain and more of it. Sometimes it'll be heavy, temperatures in the 50s, winds out of the east. And then by mid-morning tomorrow, the rain ends in the afternoon. Some sun here in southern New England. Not too cool tomorrow in the 60s with westerly winds, but we'll start to cool off tomorrow night as skies clear in the 40s. And then on Sunday, a mixture of sunshine and clouds. As I said, most of the clouds in the mountains well north and west in the 50s, just a remote chance of an afternoon sprinkle. We're getting the rain. We really needed it. And if you're doing any foliage hunting this weekend, it's in far northern New England, 3 to 4 hour car ride where it's peaking. We'll keep you posted on that in the weeks ahead as it gets closer. So a nice weekend after early tomorrow. That's it.
Rain just in time for Shane Hollett, who's going to talk about city gardens next week for you and me, Jane.
That's right, for us city dwellers. And this story coming up is for parents of young children. It's the one we told you before. You better have a pencil and paper. If your child plays with a building set called Bristol Block that is manufactured by Play School Incorporated, you should know that the Consumer Product Safety Commission has determined that some of the parts in the set could be dangerous because they could be swallowed by young children. Those parts are the heads contained in set number 808 and the wheel and axle assemblies contained in sets numbers 806, 807, and 808. Now, Play School has agreed to replace those parts free of charge. For more information, you should write to the Play School Incorporated Company at 4500 West Augusta Boulevard, that is in Chicago, Illinois, and the zip code there is 60651.
It's one of those stories where you wish we had more time so we could keep it up on the screen, but that's the best we can do. Write to them if you have any problems. Still to come, you'll be paying more for cab rides soon in Boston.
And our Night People report takes us to the man who lights up the night at City Hall Plaza. That's when we continue.
I did it especially for you. No. Well, no, I can't help it. A lot of women have been smoking a lot of cigarettes for a long time. That's why lung cancer is no longer just a man's disease. Today, lung cancer is an equal opportunity tragedy. We'd like to help you stop smoking. Write Women in Smoking, Rockville, Maryland.
I know I shouldn't smoke, but it's so hard to stop. How can I get help?
What are the warning signals of cancer? What should I do if I have one?
Where can my students get information for their school project on cancer?
Now, cancer information is as close as your phone. Call the Cancer Information Service toll-free for the answers to your questions.
The government of Poland has its back to the wall tonight after workers staged the first legal strike ever in that communist country. The workers shut down Gdansk for an hour, and there were token stoppages in other cities. They say the government is not coming through with promised pay raises and is throwing obstacles in the way of their organizing efforts. The government says it's doing the best it can. What remains unsaid is the fact that the Russians are already unhappy with Poland, and further labor unrest could turn that unhappiness into action. Hollywood actors who have been off the job and on strike since midsummer should be back on the job Monday. Their unions have directed them to resume work while a final vote is taken on a new contract with film and television producers. You know what that means? Hollywood can now start churning out the long-awaited new television episodes we've been waiting for, hoping that we still care who shot J.R. on the Dallas series. It's all good news from Hollywood tonight. TV, not all good news. TV soundtrack musicians are still on strike there. Jan?
And it's an unpleasant rainy night, and that is a good night for cabs. Police Commissioner Joseph Jordan has ensured that cab owners' futures will be good, too. Jordan approved an average 19% increase in fares, bringing the cost of an average 2-mile trip from $2.60 to $3.10. The elderly and handicapped will get a break. Their fare reduction will increase from 20 to 30%. That's an increase for them. Jordan says the cost of running a cab fleet has risen 70%, while fares have increased only 40% over the past 5 years.
There were night people in the classic sense that braved a cold drizzle tonight to witness the outdoor light show at Boston City Hall Plaza. But Newsroom 7 reporter Carmen Fields visited the night people in the booth who make that laser extravaganza click.
Out across the City Hall ledge and down a steep stairway we came to find tonight's night people. They're nestled on the 6th floor of City Hall, overlooking a 30-foot screen that is the showplace for the Boston Light Extravaganza. And if you thought a projectionist just pushes a button and then puts his feet up, well, in this case, you're mistaken.
No, ma'am. There's so much training and skill in it, it's unbelievable. Today's modern projectionist has to have a working knowledge of electronics, mechanics, showmanship.
And what is special that the laser adds to the production?
Well, it's one part of many mediums that are used, and at the end we have a big finale where beams shoot out across City Hall Plaza and bounce off mirrors, and it creates sort of a three-dimensional light sculpture.
When it's all synchronized with the sound, the motion, and the lights, well, it's like a musical production, complete with fancy fingering. In Boston's first light booth, I'm Carmen Fields for Channel 7, checking out the lights with the night people.
That's quite something.
Yeah.
Quite a show. Coming up, we'll take a look at tomorrow's news tonight.
And in sports?
Well, bad news for Sam.
Yeah.
Sam Cunningham flunked his physical in Miami today. May not play for anybody. Yankees haven't clinched yet, but the Phillies did edge a little bit closer.
Last year, the United Way of Massachusetts Bay raised more than $20 million. Dollars that came from people like you. Dollars that went to people whose lives were helped by every single contribution, no matter how big or how small. This year, we need more money than ever to maintain our life-improving programs. We're not just asking you to give more. We're asking more of you to give.
Yes, yes, yes. The Job Corps does it best.
If you're between 16 and 21 and want to earn money while learning a skill, Job Corps may be for you. Call JAX, Joint Action and Community Service, and we'll tell you more about Job Corps training opportunities. Call JAX today.
Yes, yes, yes. The Job Corps does it best.
You like bowling because it's indoors, and we've got proof tonight that the gods of weather wear pinstripes.
Isn't that unbelievable? The Yankees got the, well, you expected they might anyway, but tonight, losing 4-0 to the Tigers, the game got rained out. At the top of the 5th inning, it'll become part of a doubleheader tomorrow. New York, you know, needs just one win out of its last 3 to clinch. Baltimore's Jim Palmer gave up already. He signed to join Billy Martin as a TV color commentator during the playoffs. In the American League tonight, the Red Sox, by the way, were rained out this afternoon. They'll play a doubleheader tomorrow beginning at 1 o'clock at Fenway. Baltimore got rained out. They'll play 2 tomorrow. Games that are being played in the 8th inning, Chicago leads California 3-1. In the 9th, Minnesota, oh, that's finally a final, I think. Minnesota beat Kansas City 4-3. Seattle losing to Texas 6-2. In Montreal, the Phillies and Expos opened their series with the Phillies taking the first game 2-1. Phil scored their first run on Mike Schmidt's sacrifice fly. That was matched by an Andre Dawson sacrifice, but Schmidt took Scott Sanderson deep.
Mike Schmidt with number 47 to lead the major leagues. And no doubt about it, Phillies 2, Montreal nothing. Montreal got one back in the 6th, but that was all they got. Tug McGraw finished it off with 5 strikeouts in the last 2 innings, and the Phillies win it 2-1, lead by a game with 2 more scheduled. This is Al Meltzer for CBS News.
Elsewhere, Pittsburgh beat Chicago 3-1. It was Atlanta 4, Cincinnati 1. St. Louis took the Mets 6-4. First inning, no score, San Diego, San Francisco. Same story, second inning, Houston and L.A. Sam Cunningham will not be playing in Miami and perhaps not anywhere else. Cunningham's knees, ankles, and a shoulder flunked the Dolphins' physical. The deal is off. Miami signed fullback Terry Robisky, formerly of the Oakland Raiders. Jim Craig shut out the Canadians over the first 2 periods, leading the Bruins to a 4-2 victory. Before over 10,000 at Providence tonight, Jim Stewart of Holy Cross worked that 3rd period. Regular season begins in Boston Garden Thursday against the Rangers. Another exhibition games tonight. Celtics beat the Knicks 113-102. Ken Linsman of the Flyers will be out from 6 to 7 weeks with a fractured leg. Linsman suffered the injury in an exhibition game 2 nights ago against the Rangers. Arnold Palmer put a 69 on top of yesterday's 66, but has dropped into 3rd place at the Southern Open. Mike Sullivan fired a 63 for a 131 total, 2 ahead of George Burns, 4 in front of Palmer. Sylvia Bertolacini and Sally Little have a 1-stroke lead over Hawaiians Lenore Maruoka and Brenda Rego after the first round of the LPGA Team Championships. Always one to seize the moment, Muhammad Ali says he's thinking about fighting again. Beaten in his bid to recapture the heavyweight title by Larry Holmes, Ali says he lost too much weight in too little time and was dehydrated by the time he climbed into the ring. Whether or not the public will buy all that and put their money on the line again remains to be seen, but even in defeat, Ali knew just exactly what to say.
He is the world heavyweight champion. Thank you. But he might not be the greatest of all time.
You know who is. Speaking of spending your money on boxing, catch this one. It was announced that tickets for the Roberto Duran Sugar Ray Leonard rematch will start at $40 and go as high as $1,000. The fight will take place November 25th at the Superdome in New Orleans. Tracy Austin and Wendy Turnbull advanced to the semifinals of the Women's Indoor Championships in Bloomington. They'll face each other in the semis. Billie Jean King is playing Roberta McCallum tonight, and the winner of that match will take on Diane Fromholtz in the other semifinal. That's about it.
Give me a couple of tickets to that fight, will you?
Top seats, of course.
That's about the most subdued we've ever seen Ali in a press conference, isn't it?
He was hurting.
Oh, yes. Taking a look now at some of tomorrow's news tonight. Tenants groups across the city are getting together tomorrow, and everyone interested in better housing is invited. More than 40 local tenants groups will participate in the first all-city Tenants and Housing Festival at Copley Square. There'll be tenant information along with baked goods, poetry, and music, and that's all day beginning at 10 in the morning. 11 heart attack victims, including a 79-year-old Cambridge woman, will run in a 5-mile road race similar to this one in Woburn tomorrow. The starting gun goes off at 11 in the morning. All 11 cardiac program graduates will run with 65 other contestants, officials say, to prove they can do it. And now that Boston is wrapping up its 350th birthday celebration, it's the city of Cambridge's turn. Tomorrow there'll be a small ships parade in the Charles, a reenactment of the founding of Cambridge. All the festivities start at 1 o'clock, capped off with a fireworks display at 8:30 in Harvard Square. And they are still predicting the walkout by city workers will not interfere with the festivities tomorrow.
They'll find out probably overnight.
That's
I
right.
like their sense of humor, small
The
ships.
small ships,
It's a good idea, and a pretty place to have it, too,
Yes,
if the
it
weather
is.
holds. So I think, what kind of day are they going to have, Harvey? Tell me. Good. Okay. Harvey says this for the weather tomorrow on the Charles River. That's good news. Sometimes in the news business, you run across a picture that just begs to be shown, and this might be one of those times. Would you buy a used car from this man? Now look closely. This is not the 16th president of the United States, but he's a car salesman from Salt Lake City. Gene Beck grew the beard 10 years ago. You can't see all the beard in this picture the way we're taking it. After someone told him it would make him look presidential. No word whether the beard has helped Honest Gene's car sales, but he says he's definitely not entering politics. And by the way, we saw Gene's beard fully there. Most of the time that Lincoln was alive, he didn't have a beard. He didn't
Oh, you've dispelled another myth. He does look honest, though. Honest
It's
Gene.
the one on the $5 bill that most Americans
You bet.
are most familiar with. That's the news from here. John Henning reporting with Jan Harrison.
The next Newsroom 7 is tomorrow at 6 o'clock with Brad Holbrook and Lynn Vaughn. Until then, take care.
Good night and have a good weekend.